Welcome to Huckaleros. I'm Mike Brennan. We are recording at the world famous Next Course Studios in downtown Rochester in the historic Sibley Tower. I'm here with PJ McMullen of Planke App. Thank you for coming in and joining me today. And we were just talking before we hit record here. You're from the Catskills area in New York originally. You grew up in that area.
Yeah, small town in the foothills of the Catskills, and then I ended up in Rochester after going to St. John Fisher. Stuck around for a little while, and then moved to New York City for a bit, and then moved back to Rochester.
Wow. So you've been back and forth.
Yeah.
My family goes each fall. They go to like one of those resorts. It's like where everybody from New York City would go in the 50s or whatever. I think it was like where the movie Dirty Dancing was based out of. So they have all those little types of places. And of course, Woodstock. I'm going to Woodstock next month for a concert. And that's a cool little town as well too. So you went to St. John Fisher, and then what pulled you into New York City after college?
Yeah, so St. John Fisher, and then I worked here in Rochester locally for, 6 years probably. And I was
Where were you working locally?
Yeah, so it was a small technology consulting company called Leveraging Technology, which has since been acquired again. So we were mostly working in enterprise software. So my degree was in computer science, and then I really learned about software development and software engineering. And at that company, I spent 6 years. We consulted with like banks and healthcare companies, healthcare payers. And then I was looking for a career change. I had an interest in Bitcoin and crypto and that whole craze. So I wanted to
What year was this?
This was 2017.
Okay.
And then 2018, we moved to New York City. I wanted to be a little closer to the action. And I was just doing consulting for banks in New York City. So I bounced from Merrill Lynch to Mizuho Bank.
Okay.
And we, my wife and I were married in 2017, and then 18, we moved down to New York City, and we spent probably 2 years there.
Was she Rochester native?
She actually grew up in the same town that I did.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, she ended up going to Geneseo. We knew each other since we were maybe 13.
Oh, wow. 13, and when did you start dating in that?
Yeah, so like the end of high school.
Okay.
And then that carried on through most of college. And yeah, she was at Geneseo, so we weren't that far
Yeah,
apart.
it's pretty close. Yeah. It's pretty close. Geneseo is cool. I was living down in Canisius Lake for a while, so I spent some time in Geneseo. So I would see friends working there, and I know Connor, who's here, grew up in around Canisius and Geneseo. It's awesome. Like it's a cool place, a cool college town too.
Great college town.
Yeah.
And I actually, the town that I grew up in is like really considered a college town too, Oneonta, New York.
So, right on. Yeah.
There's 2 colleges in that town, and when you tell people you grow up there, it's funny because they all know it as a place you go for college, you know?
Yeah. See, I went to Fredonia, so similar, like college town has that mentality, and the people that like live there, that's, it's the same type of deal. What part of New York City did you two move to when you took off from Rochester?
We were in Brooklyn Heights.
Okay.
We absolutely loved that neighborhood. Had a wonderful time being in New York for almost 2 years. My wife was 9 months pregnant when we left.
Okay.
So it was like March 14th, 2020, when the world shut down.
I was going to say that, and, I'm just doing the quick math there. You were were you already planning on leaving at that point, or was it the onset of the pandemic kind of really exacerbated that?
Yeah, the pandemic really didn't force us out, but I had been watching it for a couple months previously, and I was like, man, as soon as everything shuts down, we got to get out of here. We're in a small 1-bedroom apartment. We had the outside facade of our building was getting resurfaced, so we couldn't open our windows.
Oh my gosh.
We were coming up on the warm months, no air conditioning. My wife was 9 months pregnant.
That would have been rough. That's like where in the city cease to be worth living there.
Yeah.
It's funny because that's part of the reasons, everything's there. You could go out any time of the day.
Yeah.
There's a reason it's New York City. During the pandemic, all that allure fades quick. So that's pretty smart that you kind of had the heads up. You're keeping your eye on, because a lot of people weren't. I was just through, just from hearing things and being probably terminally online or whatever.
Yeah.
But so what was that moment like where you're like, okay, we're getting out of here before this really hits?
Thinking back on it, it's like really, really surreal and strange.
It was a
'Cause
very strange time.
I remember on like Wednesday, I was like saying to my wife, if everything shuts down, if you like I'm work from home now, that means it's bad enough that like we should probably get out of New York City, right? And on that Friday, we packed up our little Nissan Sentra and drove out of there back to upstate where we grew up and planted in my mom's house. We left our apartment filled with stuff. It had all of our baby gear. We had
Oh,
already had a
wow.
baby shower, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so that was the last time we ever saw that apartment. We had movers come in and pack everything up a few months later and then move it all into a storage unit. So
Oh,
that
wow.
Friday that we left was the last day that we lived in New York City. And it was really weird to think on that.
That is. Have you been back since?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So we had a bunch of friends there. So we've been back a number of times since. And every time I go, I'm like, oh, I miss it. And we had planned on being there for a long time. You know, we had
Sure.
no idea. This was our first kid. We had no idea what it was going to be like. We were planning on moving to Hoboken and get a little bigger place, and
Still have the city life though.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So just take the train across the river,
Mhm.
and we'd be city life, and I would work during the week, and my wife could do weekends, but looking back, we realized that would have been pretty miserable for us. We would have seen each other, and we
Yeah.
would have either been working or taking care of a baby 24/7. And
In a one bedroom
yeah,
with you can't open the windows,
yeah,
and
it would have been tough.
that would have been the pandemic was challenging enough as it is. And I
Yeah,
think, having those other factors being at play was something that's a good bullet to dodge coming back. So how long did so you're back in the Catskills now,
yeah,
still, closer to New York City. How long were you there for? Then what precipitated the move back to Rochester
yeah.
from there?
So we were back in Oneonta for probably 9 months, and then we actually moved to Austin, Texas, for like 2 or 3 months.
Really?
So the winter of 2021,
21?
when there
Yeah,
was
things
that,
were all open there, right? Like,
it was such a nice change of pace from what we were doing. I was over the pandemic at that point. I was like, man, everything sucks. Nothing's open. Why are we still all closed down? What
yeah,
is happening?
yeah, yeah.
Life needs to start to move on. And, we went to Texas, and like it was mostly normal there, and it felt really nice. We were in a great neighborhood. Um, it's a great city for families to raise kids and also have a career. Like we looked at houses there. We almost bought a place there. We liked it so much.
Okay.
It's just really far from our whole life, which has been New York
You
State
have
forever,
you have basically a toddler, and your family's back on the East
Yeah,
Coast.
yeah.
Yeah. It's
So it was great. Although we were there during the great freeze of the
oh,
great Texas
no
freeze of
way.
2021.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Well, you're built for that because, maybe you had to like dig out some of the
Yeah.
coats and stuff, but
Yeah.
coming from these parts, you're equipped and know how to drive at least as well too.
Yeah. When it happened, we didn't realize how big of a deal it was, but that ice was pretty serious. And then after Texas, we made our way back to Oneonta for a month or two, and then I moved back into the house that I had bought earlier because we had rented it while we moved to New York City.
Mhm.
And that's how we ended up back in Rochester in the summer of 2021.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So kind of like full circle in terms of after college coming back here 2021, things are starting to open up a little bit more
Yeah.
at that time. If because it's so surreal to like think about that whole span of like really like almost 2 years, and like reflecting back on it now it's like, wow, like how are we living like that, right? And
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
and something else. So uh so you move back in, you have basically almost a 1-year-old at this point, right?
Mhm, mhm.
And uh and if my math is correct, this is also pretty much around, well, you started Plank App before that, or how did that come to fruition?
Yeah,
What's the background there?
yeah, so Plank App, the idea was in 2017.
Okay, so
So, yeah,
pre-pandemic.
we were still living in Rochester, and my wife had just gotten certified as a Pilates instructor. She had a lot of interest in it for many years, and then she was like, "I think I wanna learn how to teach." So she had
Okay,
gotten certified, by a local studio here, and then we were sitting at a diner one morning at breakfast, and I was like, "Man, wouldn't it be cool if, like, we could go on vacation and you could just, like, teach at a studio somewhere else?" Kinda like an Airbnb, marketplace where, you know, things are available for you to teach at
on demand.
on demand, wherever you're traveling, wherever you're going. So this was in 2017, and, we just put it in the back of our mind for a while, and then when we moved to New York City, my wife was transitioning from advertising into full-time Pilates instruction.
Okay.
So she knew she didn't want to do advertising anymore. Previously, Pilates was just a side gig, right? She was
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
nights and weekends and mornings.
What was
And
her role in advertising? I used to
yeah,
work
she
with.
was an account executive. She worked with
Okay.
like Frontier Communications a lot.
Yeah, yeah,
That was one of the big accounts she worked with. So she worked with a few local companies, Dixon Schwabel, Partners in the Pier,
yeah, yeah.
maybe one other one.
No, those are
Yeah.
big agents, some heavy hitters around here. Yeah, so that's and definitely, so that ran its course, and the Pilates become, especially in New York City, where it can become, there's a lot of opportunity there to explore as being an instructor,
Yeah.
right? It's probably one of the best places in the world if you're gonna get involved with it and
Yeah.
make that jump.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say New York City is like the mecca of Pilates, probably because it was created there by a guy named Joseph Pilates. He was like a gymnast and a boxer, and he created this movement called contrology, which, you know, ended up being what we know as Pilates. But
Okay.
so it started in New York City, and,
And
you
for
know,
those who may not be familiar with Pilates, what's kind of how would you describe it? Someone who had like no idea what it was
yeah, I
other
would
than
say,
exercise.
yeah, it's exercise and movement that's based in stability, core strength, and some stretching. You can use equipment such as a reformer, or it could be done on a mat, like you would do yoga on a mat. Um, a lot of people compare it or equate it to yoga in many ways, but there's some major differences for anyone who's done both. They'll
Hmm.
immediately
They'll
know
know.
that. Yeah,
Okay. So it's core mobility, stretching, like it's good for,
yeah,
um, you know, uh, strengthening uh, your your body to withstand the test of time and survive pandemics and such.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. Like, if you wake up with tight hips or a low back that's not fully working that day, go do a Pilates class and you'll probably walk out feeling good.
that makes a lot of sense. So, um, so take us back to New York City. She's getting more involved in that, in the Mecca,
Yeah,
the the central hub of Pilates.
yeah. So I was working at Merrill Lynch, so I had gotten a job right before we moved there, and she had just quit her job advertising. So she was really just pounding the pavement every day, trying to find a job, taking classes at places, feeling out what vibe she liked at what studio, what was close to our apartment, what place could she get to quickly on a express train, all those different factors. What studio owner did she connect with? Um, what style of class do they teach? There's like a contemporary, a modern, or a classical style of Pilates. So she really tried out a lot of different studios to figure out where she wanted to work. But she also realized, and this is kind of where Planke App really started forming and developing really well for us was her experience, like trying to find a job, doing all this work. It helps shape what the Planke App product looks like right now.
And so like harkens back to your conversation. Wouldn't it be cool if you just had like an on-demand app that you could do this, and it's like it actually manifested itself in that experience where she's actually looking for work and trying to figure out all those different sets of things.
Yeah, and I was originally thinking of it more in terms of travel, but then once we got to New York City, we realized this is also for very local markets as well, right?
Yeah,
this
where there's a lot of demand and a lot of studios.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and New York City is the number one place to do that. There's just so many studios, so many people. So she was realizing during this process that like people were asking for her resume, and like, come on, in the fitness industry, what, her resume is going to say she was an advertising executive, and she's going to hand them that piece of paper and say what, like, oh, here's my experience for Pilates instructor? No.
Totally.
What the real process is like you tell them you got certified, and then they bring you in for an audition, right? You tell them where you got certified, what style it was. You send them a video of how you might teach or cue the moves. So these are all things that we eventually built into the app, right? So the traditional white collar resume work application,
it doesn't work.
It doesn't work for fitness in this way. So that really helped shape the product, and that's the road we ended up going down, even though it wasn't quite the travel vision that I thought. We can come back to that again later or in a few minutes, because that did come full circle again too.
Okay. And so at this point, and with your skill set and working as, you're working in enterprise in banks, healthcare, really high-end technology, you have the skill set to build out the technology that became Planke App.
I would say not really.
Okay.
Only partially.
Partially.
My time spent as a consultant and working in enterprise software was mostly in application integration. I was mostly working with back-end systems. I was never touching a front end. Ever. I was never looking at designs.
What types of systems did that encompass?
So, processing trades at a finance company.
Okay.
There's all kinds of clearinghouses they need to go through. So the actual execution of the trade, but then all the things that need to happen, all the reporting and different databases that data
compliance
needs to go after. Yeah. Everything. So for finance, it was a lot of that. For trades, that was at Merrill Lynch. And then I had done a lot of work with healthcare companies previously, and a lot of that was healthcare payers. So it was processing claims.
Yeah. Again, there's a lot of compliance and sophistication, all the different medical codes, and that's
completely different data formats that are not human readable. So that was really my enterprise software work.
Okay.
And
so you know how things work. If you can figure that out, is a front end daunting at that, or is it just because it's so different?
Yeah, it was daunting to me at first. And in our first iteration of Planke App, so I'll back up for a minute. So
so you just started doing it. You just decided, like, there's a need here.
Yeah.
Let's explore this.
Yeah. So in 2018, when my wife was, getting multiple new jobs at various Pilates studios throughout New York, we were just keeping this in the back of our head. And it wasn't until 2019 when we were in the car and we were talking about it again, where we were like, all right, we should actually turn this into something. We probably have enough here. We were on a car ride and we just like incorporated while we were on the car ride through
That's awesome.
through a mobile device.
And
then it was like, okay, now it's time to start building. And I had to do a lot of research to like actually start the building process. And we actually recruited quite a bit of help for that, because I had no mobile experience. I had no front end experience. I was never a full stack developer. I knew the back end pretty well, and I knew how to design and architect systems, but that whole mobile world was completely foreign to me. So
mobile apps are a beast.
yes,
They're like, you think, oh, it's just this app on a phone, but there's so much in terms of each system have different requirements, and it's a lot of Apple and I guess Google, maybe not as much with Android, but I know Apple have experienced there, and it's just like it's so there's a lot of tedious process of getting approval, and then the maintenance of it is just insane.
The whole mobile development experience is not my favorite experience.
Yeah.
Just doing web development is so much easier, so much better. Even back-end development, I like more, even though the QA testing process is so much more rigorous. But mobile was a real challenge for us, and there is a lot that goes into it. Luckily, we were in New York City, so I went to every React Native meetup. I went to every Flutter meetup. I went to every iOS developer meetup, and I just started like learning through osmosis from all these various groups, even though I had no development experience in that field.
What a tremendous resource. And again, being in New York City, facilitate, like, I mean, I love Rochester. There isn't, I don't think there's an iOS group here.
Yeah. I think I was going to meetups probably 3 or 4 times per week.
Wow. Yeah,
so
tremendous.
I was also, in New York City without any kids at the time, and, all the time in the world after work to do anything. It was like the city was my playground. So that was incredible. But I learned enough mobile things in order to, know what to look for when I wanted to hire or find a consultant or someone to work with. So what we ended up doing when we decided, all right, we need to start building this thing, we got a designer, and this was someone that my wife knew, and we traded off work. So I was doing the designer wanted to build a Shopify store. So I built her Shopify store. So I was building her Shopify site and store and all these custom integrations and things. And
what was she selling on Shopify?
Candles. And she's actually a business partner with Planke App right now still. It's been really successful. It's called Siblings Candles.
Siblings Candles. All right, awesome.
Yeah.
Check it out.
So it's like a sustainable, reusable candle company, and it's really cool.
I'll check it out.
So she was helping us design Planke App. We were getting on calls once a week, my wife and the designer and myself, and I was building the Shopify store. So we were just trading off work to build these initial Planke App screens. And then when it came time to build, we were like, oh, I don't know if I can do the mobile development. I probably can, but how long is it going to take me, right? If this takes 5 years to build this thing, then it's not worth me doing.
Yeah.
But I can oversee the work. I know how it should be done. I know what it should look like.
You know what to look for.
I know, I can figure out enough stuff on the back end and, figure things out as I go and oversee the development of it. So I posted a job on Angel List, and I got a bunch of hits, but one of them ended up being a kid that was in college in Maryland, at University of Maryland. His name was Evan, and he was incredible. So he was essentially working for us and developing the app for, I can't remember what we paid him. It might've been $1,000 a month or something like that.
Yeah. And just, give a reference point. If you were at that time, if you were going to hire like either a experienced iOS dev or a shop, what do you think you'd be paying an hour or a month at that point in time?
It's funny you mention that, because a lot of the applications that came in through AngelList or anywhere else that you post jobs, they end up being development shops, right?
Yeah.
Rather than individuals. And those quotes were coming in at anywhere from 20K up to 150K,
Yeah.
And like the variation was huge. And I knew that we could do it cheaper and probably better. And that's exactly what happened.
Evan. Yeah. Shout out Evan.
We ended up going with Flutter, cross-platform mobile development. I wanted to originally do React Native, and if I started over, maybe I would do that again. Maybe I would do Flutter, maybe I would do React Native. Probably React Native, because the ecosystem's a little bigger. It's a little more mature of a product. But this guy that I found, he could do it at this price and work with us directly and meet with us, once or twice a week. and he knew Flutter. So we were like, all right, let's go
let's
Flutter.
do
He's like,
let's do it. Yeah.
I can spin this thing up and have an MVP in, a couple weeks, and then we iterate from there and keep building. And I was like, all right, we'll go with Flutter.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And that's the direction we went. So we had this trade-off with work with a designer, and we had a college kid that was developing for us.
It's a definition of bootstrapping, where, in terms of like locating resources, or even depending on who you're talking to, it's like, if you're looking, if that person was like, did you manifest it, right? Like, how does it come? Like, people create their own luck, and seems like just the pieces, the ingredients you needed for this recipe, kind of formulated based on, those actions that you took, and that you knew enough to guide, and your wife had this connection who also needed the support that you could provide. It's like all this little ecosystem coming together, and that recipe being able to bake it.
Absolutely. Everything did come together really well. It took a while, and looking back, it makes it, talking about it in a podcast over the course of,
like
10 minutes, it's like, man, that seemed like it all worked out really fast and really well, and like everything just fell into place.
But it's never that smooth.
It was super hard.
Yeah. That's like, I'd be real interested to know, is because what were the stumbling blocks, and that was there any point where you were like, oh my God, I don't know if we're going to be able to pull this off, or
so that came later.
Okay. Well, then we'll get to that later.
During this product development phase, notice how when I'm describing this, we completely skipped all user validation, all marketplace validation before you start building, all the best practices that they tell startups to do.
As entrepreneurs do.
We skipped.
As entrepreneurs do. When you have an idea. And I mean, isn't the validation that your wife went through this, and hey, she had this problem and we're going to fix that? I mean, it's like a lot of the conversations I have is that the genesis, the kernel of a company comes from, someone having a problem, and they're looking to, we can fix that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think we used that single data point as justification for,
everybody's going to need this, right?
Let's just go build it. Yeah. And I do think deep inside everybody, we all just really want to build something that's like meaningful.
Yeah.
And maybe this, at that time, this project for us was that meaningful thing, and we just had to do it. So we were like, all right.
So that's kind of where the entrepreneurial spark sets in, is that we're going to build this.
Yeah.
And you both shared that together in a time when it was that you had already discussed it previously. It was a thought.
It was a thought. It had been in our minds for years, and we were like, all right, we've been talking about it for a while. If we're not going to do it now, when are we going to do it? Right? Eventually kids are going to come, families are going to come. Are we going to have time to do it at that point? No. Yeah. Let's just do it now. Let's just make the jump.
There's never a good time.
Yeah. We're living in New York, and it's the best place in the world to like build stuff. You go to meetups, figure things out, talk to people, right?
Get an MVP. So what was the first iteration of that MVP? And was it, and if you could talk a little bit and explain the marketplace aspect of it, because that's one of the most difficult. I mean, you have the technology, which you're overcoming, but one of the hardest things to build is a two-sided marketplace, because you need the venues, you need the actual studios, and then you need the instructors as well too. So there's two sets of people, and you need to grow it in such a way that one feeds the other. And being in New York, maybe that's a competitive advantage, but explain what that development was like, and how was that reflected in the MVP you were working on?
Yeah, I would say like starting, this is something we didn't realize, but starting a two-sided marketplace is probably one of the most difficult things you can do.
It totally is
in tech. And I still look back and say like, man, I can't believe we even tried to do that, but we were too dumb to not know to try.
That's ignorance is an asset when you don't know what you can't do, right?
Yeah. So it was a actually a bit of a strange trip because, COVID hits. We're just finishing up our MVP that summer, and we have a 2-month-old baby that we're trying to keep healthy and out of the way of COVID-19. So
Yeah.
we actually put Planke App on the back burner for a whole year.
Okay.
The thing was built, and it was just
It
sitting in a
sat.
repo, and
It wasn't distributed on any of the stores or the app stores or
Nope.
anything. It wasn't released publicly yet. Okay.
not public, just sitting in a private repo that we held, and it sat there for a year and a half before, or probably a year before I opened it again, but
Yeah.
a year and a half before we really started getting
Well,
back to
and
work on it.
all of those studios would have been closed during the pandemic,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
they were non-essential. It's a place that was probably didn't get back online until the later stages of the pandemic.
Yeah, and that was part of the reason why, we didn't touch it. We didn't know
you really couldn't do.
Yeah, we didn't know what was going to happen with
Yeah.
studios. Are they going to exist in a different format? Are they going all digital? Is everything shutting down?
I remember like going to a movie when things opened back up a little bit in the first like wave of things coming up. And I went with my cousin. He had like some tickets. We went and saw the Tenet, the Christopher Nolan movie.
Yeah.
And we're like looking around. It was such a weird experience going around the theater. And my cousin's like, do you think this is the last time we're going to see a movie at a theater? I'm just like, oh my God. You know, it was like everything, like it was such a weird time in that aspect of what is going to happen? What's the future of something like a Pilates studio? Is it all going to be online? Are we all going to just have virtual happy hours? You know, or are you ever going to see your family again? You know, so those are real things in retrospective and thinking back on it that we were all kind of going with.
And it seemed like that was the direction everything was going, right? You had Peloton, that stock climbed, 1,000%, and before it dropped again. But in the moment, the marketplace was saying like, this is the new direction of fitness. It's at home and it's digital.
Yeah.
And
you still work out with other people. You still go to a class, right? Yeah. It's screens.
Yeah. So we had no idea what was going to happen. So we were like, all right, let's just put this on the back burner. And, it took a full year before like the world and the USA ramped back up into like almost normalcy. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And during that year, we had a newborn. We were traveling all over. That was the year when we were down in Texas. And, it was a good time to put it to the side. And
during this time, you're still consulting, right? That's still your day job, so to speak, right?
Yeah. And Planke App was always a nights and weekends thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of what I mentioned when like it was a lot of work. Like I remember being up, well past midnight every night working on either Plank or the Shopify store so I could get more work out of this designer, so it was all work all the time. But it was like fun work when it's your own stuff. So Planke App was back burner for a year. And then we eventually found this Facebook group called Traveling Pilates Instructors. And we kind of paired up with them. And the owner of that group was really interested in what we had built. And she was like, yeah, I think this is perfect. I don't know if I want to run this Facebook group forever or this website forever, right? Because she had the website and the Facebook group. And she helped seed the initial marketplace for that. So it was a small group at the time. But
so she had kind of validated that. And that's what you alluded to earlier with the traveling aspect.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the full circle moment where, the traveling aspect came back, even though my wife's experience was more local.
Mm-hmm.
We found this travel use case on a Facebook group. So now we could probably combine both of those, revive the app after it's been dormant for a while and then launch it. So it took us, about 6 months to, test, revive the app, get all the versions updated, the libraries, get everything into a good enough place where we released it on the App Store in June of 2022. And immediately when we launched it, we had an initial small flood of instructors and studio owners.
Just from your personal network or from the Facebook group?
This was mostly from the Facebook group.
The Facebook group.
Yeah.
And how did you meet the person who was running the traveling? How did your paths cross? Is
Yeah,
that
my wife found the group online, and we just reached out to her, and we hit it off, and she was like, "Yeah,
and she was
I
she
don't."
based in New York City
She was
or
actually based in Dallas,
in
Texas,
Dallas, Texas? Okay.
and she was just doing this as a side project. She was also a studio owner and an instructor, so she knew the industry real well, and she had great connections in the industry, and she expressed that, like, I don't know how much further I can take this website and
Yeah, yeah,
this Facebook group. I might need more help if we want to make this bigger. So we needed her at the time, and she needed us at the time, and it
yeah,
just happened to work out.
yeah. Another stroke of creating your own luck
Yeah,
and being resourceful.
yeah,
That's so another kind of pillar of the entrepreneurial journey
yeah,
at the when things and it's like I know all the crap that happens in between is sometimes not as memorable. Sometimes you like have to just get through it and flush it out, right?
yeah.
So you can focus on what's important. So uh so with that partnership, you get it to market and you start getting some traction from the group, and it's in New York City at the local level, if I'm understanding correctly.
Yeah, so this is one of our big mistakes that, you mentioned earlier, like, what were some of the hardships and
Yeah,
things that
yeah,
went wrong? This was probably our first big one, where we launched a marketplace to the entire world all at once. And I think the reason for that, and it made sense at the time, was because we had travel instructors, right?
yeah,
Most of the people that were coming into the app were travel instructors and studios who wanted or were willing to host travel instructors and have them teach at their studio. So it's a little bit of a hiccup, but at the same time, it did seed the initial marketplace.
right.
And then soon after that, we noticed that many of these studios were using it for local hiring also. The only problem is we didn't have the instructor density for that local hiring.
That's the
And
complexity of having the two-sided
yeah,
market
yeah,
and having to manage these different places all over. You may not have it's like you have inventory either maybe on one side or the other, but
yeah,
not both, that fulfills demand on both sides, right?
yeah,
At that initial moment.
exactly, exactly. Super complex. And then, like, it's not just about having enough on both sides. It's making sure the interactions between those two, are there enough interactions between those two? Are those the correct interactions that they should be
Yeah,
having, right? Is this
yeah.
actually a marketplace that is better than the alternative, which is, Indeed, or a regular, you know, boots on the
Sending a
ground job? Yeah,
resume, sending a resume
yeah,
that's, that's going to
yeah.
say I'm an account executive or I was a school teacher,
So, yeah, all of those things we had to take into account. And then we realized, like, man, it's not actually working that well.
Mhm.
There's a few people coming in here and there, but it's not working that well. But our initial users, they loved the idea, and many of them stuck by it just to see what it could become. And eventually and slowly, we improved the product. We went through a number of hiccups with pricing also.
Yeah, how did you think about pricing when you were going to market? And was it fees for the one side of the market, or was there kind of some transactional thing,
Yeah,
or monthly? I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you could look at pricing
yeah.
in this
We
situation.
we wanted to keep it simple at first, and we completely gated it off. So, in order to get into the app, you had to pay, whether you were an instructor or a studio. If you're an
Hmm.
instructor, you're going to pay $50, and you get it for a full year for $50, and you can see everything that's out there. And then on the studio side, it was, I think, 200 per year. So we only had annual pricing at the time. We just
Hmm.
wanted to keep it simple. And we realized over time pricing might be off. And the way that it was off was that we probably couldn't charge both sides at the same time if we wanted enough liquidity in the marketplace, or enough users, enough engagement. So we had to alter that over time. And at first we reduced price to see if that helped. Didn't help.
Right.
Then we made the instructor side free so that they could view what's on the app. They could create a profile, which is their now digital fitness resume,
Yeah.
and they could apply to these jobs and these opportunities that they're seeing overseas. So we eventually landed on, this is free for instructors and studios because they're the ones generating revenue. They are the ones that are going to pay.
Yeah. And I guess that's, if you're thinking about it from like a job marketplace, if you're comparing it to an Indeed, if I was looking, I can go and submit my resume and I can apply. There's no gates there, but the employer, when they want to post a job, that's where the fees come in, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Indeed is an interesting case study, along with like LinkedIn and all the other
LinkedIn,
big job
Hot
boards.
Jobs, Yahoo, remember
Monster.com.
Monster.com. Now there's ZipRecruiter,
Yeah.
all the big ones that you hear advertised now. But I mean, there used to be like a dozen of those different marketplaces and then aggregators, and you'd still have even classified in the paper and
Yeah.
then on Craigslist, people posting,
Yeah.
all over. It's there's the whole that whole industry of, and then the recruiters that go along with it is a whole nother subset, right?
Yeah. And I think eventually over time, we want to serve recruiters, businesses, instructors, and consumers. But at this point, it's mostly studios and instructors. There are some large private equity companies that own lots of studios, right?
Okay.
Many locations that have internal recruiters that are using Planke App also. But we really wanted to lean towards niche quality over quantity, right? Like you mentioned, those aggregators, and that was exactly what
Yeah.
they were doing, right? They had lots and lots of jobs, but they were attracting lots and lots of garbage candidates,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So every time you posted a job, it's $500, and then you get 12 candidates that you got to sift through, and none of them are actually Pilates instructors. So now you've just wasted $500 and a bunch of time sifting through resumes of construction workers and chefs.
Yeah. So how do you solve that problem with instructors then? Because you are offering that for free. I could go and sign up, and I and like cosplay as a Pilates instructor. How do you build trust in that system?
Yeah, I would say most of it is built in through our onboarding and sign-in process. There's enough friction there that it's going to deter low quality people, but also people from different industries, right? When they're asked this specific group of questions, you can tell when someone is in the industry versus not. Also, we allow them to upload a certification, and we try to get them to upload a video also, which shows them.
That's what you had
teaching.
mentioned previous, is like the teaching, how
Yeah.
you go about the movements.
Right.
If you know the different styles and you have some kind of a knowledge about it, it's gonna shine through. So then, are you and your wife manually reviewing these then?
Yep.
At this point?
Yep. Initially, we were manually reviewing just about everything. What we found was that there are very few bad actors that are signing up to Planke App. Here and there would be a couple, but the amount of deleted accounts that I've had to just go in and manually delete is pretty low.
That's
overall.
remarkable.
It's really nice because that could be a big headache, as just
especially as you grow, and it could be a point of talk about the complexity of having, if there's liability involved, or what have you. I wouldn't know any of those ins or outs, but that's refreshing in terms of, hey, that we're getting the right people, is we're in the right zone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That was nice. That didn't end up being a huge task for us every day or every week. But one of the things we did notice was during that sign up and onboarding process was that, man, sometimes people rush through this, and while we can tell that they're decent Pilates instructors, they're not really filling out their profile to the best of their ability, right? So their resume could be better. Their digital fitness resume could look much better to anyone who looks at it, especially these studios that might be
the
trying to
account
hire
utilization problem. Okay.
So that has been a challenge over time also.
Yeah.
And
getting people to upload a video or even go and find the certification, it's challenging. And the people who do it probably perform better, I imagine.
yes.
Right? Like
Yes.
they're the ones that are gonna get the connections and jobs.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what we've seen. People who have videos on their profile of them demonstrating their teaching skills is, they have 50% more interactions and engagement with quality studios on the app. Certifications is another one. You can upload your certification. That's a big mover. Extra photos always helps. Even a good description. Some people just put in a couple sentences. They just barely hit the minimum character count. And we know that your life story and your Pilates journey is like at least a paragraph.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
even if if I blabbed into ChatGPT or whatever and just dictated, hey, give me you could get something rather quickly. Right.
Yeah.
Maybe you tell it's slop or from the AI, but at least it's something that you can consume.
Something to enhance your profile at least a little bit, and that will help you be more successful in your career, right? We spend almost a third of our life working.
Yeah.
Why would you not want to be successful in your career, right? Presumably you've already transitioned into Pilates because it's something you enjoy.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I see most of these instructors filter in, is I'm leaving the advertising platform, or I'm also a dancer and I like Pilates and I'm going to do that as supplemental income. Or I want to get out of my corporate gig completely. I want to get certified in Pilates, right? So we spend so much of our life working. And if you choose to do something that you really like, put some effort in and just build this thing the right way,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not like it takes a lot of extra time or effort. You're not like writing a dissertation and, if you enjoy it, you're going to do it. That just shows like how difficult it is for people to take action, even when it benefits them. There's like, hey, and so is there a marketing towards educating people? Like you have the numbers. You said like, well, if people with a video are going to get 50% more interaction, is that part of beyond the onboarding, is that part of like your ongoing marketing strategy for that like account utilization?
It is. And this is one of the areas where I think we haven't really done a good job so far.
Okay.
So we've told our story a little bit. I'm not sure that we've done a good job at it, but we've also done a poor job at educating our marketplace and showing them how the product benefits them. So these are all things that I'm working on now. And to begin this whole process is really like, oh, I need the analytics around this data. I need to collect this stuff. And, with these new AI tools, I think it helps us a lot with the data collection of just like, how are people using the app, right? This isn't about like surveilling every user. It's more about
getting the aggregate.
Let's
aggregate.
Figure out what's working, what's not working, so that the entire marketplace and the ecosystem can work and function really well for every one of our users.
It's improving. It's making the network stronger. Yeah, it's strengthening it.
Absolutely. And in order to really educate well, we need to first gather those analytics. And I think we're doing a much better job of that now. And we're going to be entering this phase of education and marketing push here pretty soon.
Yeah. Will that be done with email, or is there like different like text? Like, how do you go about an effective, execute that you, let's say you have some great data and you're like, oh, okay, we can share this and we'll show you what the possibility is based on this data. let's just use that one, 50% more interactions
Yeah.
if you do a video. Here's some tips on creating a simple video in under 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Is that how is that communications distributed?
Yeah. So we go through a lot of different mediums with our communication. So if you have a token, a push token, meaning you signed up on the mobile app, we will hit you with a push notification. Only meaningful ones, right? These are usually direct messages, job applications,
The transactional type.
mostly transactional
Yeah.
stuff. But the minute you sign up, you're also going to get these educational emails. So I would say,
Like a welcome series.
yeah, the onboarding welcome email series is probably the number one place where we would distribute this information.
Yeah. What software are you using to deliver that?
So we're actually using this software called Flowdesk.
Oh, okay.
And,
I've used that before.
yeah, when we found this Facebook group owner, she was already using that,
Mm-hmm.
and we just continued to use that, and now we're grandfathered into their original price from like 2021.
Oh,
so
that's pretty cool.
now,
Yeah, when you get that.
well, now
Yeah.
we're like, man,
Yeah, we had that, and I think when we transitioned, I think now we're using Dot Digital, which is, but we had Flowdesk for a while
Yeah.
for my developer squad company. It was good. I don't think again with that, even that, it's like I don't know if we used it to its full capability, right? Like that's
Yeah.
what we see a lot with our our clients and partners is you have this great tool and like you could be doing so much with it, but you only have so much time, right? And I think maybe that's the props of AI that allow you to chip away at those utilization things and provide better. Hey, we have all these capabilities, but we're using like 10% of it now, just because that's all we were able to set up.
Yeah, I mean, Flowdesk is pretty simple. It's like the Squarespace version of email marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like this is what you get out of the box. You can make it look kind of nice.
Yeah,
but you're not going to get a lot of great analytics. You're not going to get a lot of great statistics. You can build workflows. It's pretty basic, does everything you need it to do, but there's no bells and whistles and you can't customize it all. And I do think our future world is going to be complete customization as much as you want all the time, especially with AI when like stuff's easy to implement pretty quickly.
Sure.
I don't know how long we'll be on the platform, but for now, it works.
Does it have
works well
the
enough.
segmentation as well too, so you can like really hone into, as you learn more and more, the people who don't have videos, people who do, like, so you can start segmenting out by like profile utilization or something.
Yeah, I mean, they have APIs, so I could connect and create a segment and have my AI agent scrape that data in my database and figure that out and then add it to this segment in Flowdesk. So there are some integrations where you can
those are the smart ones that benefit if somebody takes it, be like, hey, you're not getting a lot of action on your profile. Doing this will create more opportunity. So it's like it goes back to like using those tools to result in better outcomes for the users, which in turns lifts the boat up for the studios, and then in turn your business.
This is all customization stuff that traditionally we were not good at, and I think probably more than anything AI is going to enable us to be able to do really well
a lot of those things. And speak about that. There's another thing we were chatting about was the AI. You're using a lot of different like LLMs or applications, I guess I should say, in terms of like coding. You had mentioned you're using Cursor, Codex, and Claude. And what's been your experience with those? Do you have a favorite one right now, or is it like are you finding different ones are good at different tasks?
It really depends on the day, but
depends on the day.
I like all of them for different reasons on different days. And I think they're all incredible tools, and I don't need a specific mobile developer anymore, right?
Yeah.
It's like
You have your mobile developer.
over the years, I've learned enough with mobile development that I can now direct the AI agent exactly how to develop this app, and I know what to look for. I know how to make it production ready. So all of them are capable. On any given day, I might hate Claude, I might love Codex, I might,
Just like real employees.
yeah.
Just like real employees.
Like today, I got frustrated with Codex. Their newest model was like overthinking everything, right? You put on
Burning your tokens.
put 5.6 on extra high, and I'm like, man, this is way over engineered. This was a small bug, and maybe that was my fault. I should have used a lesser model.
Right. Or or was it the prompt?
It's
there's still a lot of discovery, I think, right now. And what do you mentioned it's going to enable you to get a lot of things that maybe you get to later quicker. What do you see it doing to your entire marketplace in terms of Pilates in general? You're talking about something that is in real life.
mm-hmm.
It's studio, and let's say, I think however AI goes, even if you're in the real like doomerism side, that it's going to take up everyone's jobs and work. I think it's going to leave more time for people to become Pilates instructors. If on the other hand, it's like it gives us like this great abundance and this tool that we kind of transcend our work and do so much more. It feels like you're in a good position with just that core, is that people are still going to want to exercise and do Pilates, and
mm-hmm.
it could potentially grow. Is that what you and your wife are seeing? And
yeah. So since we came out of COVID, right, everything was shut down and then it opened back up. And then, from 2021 until now, it's been explosive double-digit growth year over year in the Pilates industry. New studios opening, more people taking classes. All the statistics are up and to the right for Pilates, and fitness in general for the most part, right?
Yeah.
Except maybe cycle and a couple other modalities, right? Things shift over time typically. Yoga's been popular for thousands of years.
That's true.
Now Pilates,
it's durable.
Pilates is coming up on 100.
Wow.
So it's like some things are trends, some things come and go. Some things may get eaten into by AI. I don't think in-person fitness is going to get eaten into by AI. I think more than ever, people are craving human interaction. I think they are desperate to get off of screens. I think they're desperate to have a community to check out from their families or from their work for a little while, have some me time, and just focus on one thing and do it with a bunch of people around. That can give them motivation.
It makes you feel good.
Yeah, it makes you feel good.
Yeah.
For all of these reasons, I think Pilates is in a pretty good place.
Okay.
Now, that being said, because of the double-digit growth since 2021, year over year, every year, I think the market is becoming a little bit saturated with studios.
Okay.
So what I have seen, and the numbers are telling me from Planke App, is a lot of studios have opened in the past few years. So many studios have opened, in fact, that there are not enough instructors out there to teach all the classes that studios want to run.
It's got to catch up.
There is a massive, massive instructor shortage, right?
Okay.
So our marketplace, is it a little bit lopsided right now? Are there more jobs open than there are instructors to teach those jobs?
Mm-hmm.
Probably.
So it's competitive when there are instructors. So it's a good time to be an instructor. You're going to get that parity where, I want to work at this place, or I could command a little bit more over here because they really need someone and they're willing to pay a little more.
Yeah. If you do a Pilates training and you get certified and you can't find a job, you're doing something very wrong.
Well,
Or maybe
or
that
maybe you don't have the
industry,
Plank App.
yeah, yeah, maybe that. Maybe the industry's not meant for you.
Okay.
But
It's a
it
tremendous
should
time.
be a great time to get a job as a Pilates instructor. Um, I think the barrier to entry might be that training is kind of expensive, right? It could be 5
Okay.
to 10K to train and get your first Pilates certification on a reformer. Now, mat training or mat certification is cheaper, but once you get that, you have it forever.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
there's always a barrier to get into something that you really want to do, right? And you just need to make that leap.
And if you're talking about that certification, if you have to go through that and you're spending the money, then when you do it, it's a signal that I'm committed to this and I know what I'm doing, right?
Yes.
It's like if you have a computer engineering, software engineering, or computer science,
Mhm.
I'm committed to this. Same with XYZ. If you're
Yeah.
you need to get a top secret clearance and you can work for Lockheed, it's like those things have the payoff.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think maybe that could be a barrier in terms of, if someone is at like a certain level, or they're young, or they're trying to transition to that, and their income doesn't allow it. That could be a barrier, right, as well too.
Yeah, and I think there's ways around it. Um,
Hmm.
I think there's probably many studios out there that may run a training program, may not run a training program. If you were a person off the street and you said, "Look, I'm really interested in becoming a trained and certified Pilates instructor. How can I do that? Can you mentor me? Can I work with you in some capacity?" Um, I think that's a real conversation that most studio owners are willing to have, and they would work with you on that.
So you could,
And
if you have initiative, you can work around if, and you're
yeah,
tenacious, you could find a way around that. It's just a matter of,
always,
yeah,
always.
yeah.
And I think
Just
that
kind of how you
applies.
guys built the
Yeah,
app, right? Like you have different stumbling blocks, but
yeah,
also uh, emailing or getting in touch with the owner of the Facebook group, doing the listing. It's just like when you put it out there, things happen.
yeah,
Even if you get no, even if you get a no, it's like at least you're putting it out there.
yeah. I would say, like, as with anything in life, have some initiative and don't come at it from an entitlement perspective. Like,
Yeah,
I think you're going to get good results,
yeah.
and give it a shot. That's all I would say.
So what's next for Plank App? What's the next, now that you've you have the grounding, that there's been this tremendous growth? What do you see as the next growth stage, or how will you be approaching this next phase,
Yeah.
as the market is becoming more mature and there is that constraint on instructors?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, like I mentioned earlier, we were doing a bad job at analytics and really understanding the marketplace for many years. So we're going to continue doing that, and I think we've already come a long way. And what I'm realizing and what we're starting to understand now is that um, there's this new segment in the market that's starting to open up, and I think it's going to be big within the next couple years, or maybe not big, but much bigger than it is right now.
Okay.
So mentorship was something that I mentioned earlier, and I do think there are many young Pilates instructors or people who want to become Pilates instructors that are seeking some type of mentorship. And when they go online to Instagram, they're going to the wrong place, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
That's going to promote the highest grossing videos of the week and the day,
Yeah.
and it's not going to be what you're looking for. Sure, it may be entertaining, it may be great content, maybe not, but it's not what you need if you want to find a mentor or be a mentor. We actually just released a new feature on the app
Okay.
around mentorship. So an instructor or a studio could elect to be a mentor to a more younger instructor or a more inexperienced instructor or someone who wants to become one. And then we have instructors can opt into that also.
Okay.
So that's one thing. I think mentorship is going to become really big and really important in the near future, especially as the market catches up, becomes more saturated with instructors, and some of those instructors are viewed as low quality. They're going to want to be viewed as high quality, which means they need to do more training. They need to be mentored by someone older. So that's one area. And the other area that I think is probably a big opportunity for studios is renting their studio on a time basis. So what I mean by that is you put your studio up for rent and you get some instructor to reach out to you and they say, hey, I'll rent your studio for $100 an hour. I'm going to bring in, 5 of my own clients and we're going to train there during that hour. And we're going to do that every week at this time. And that's it. And
Okay.
this studio owner who had her studio sitting there with dormant classes because there was no class times running at 2 p.m. on a Thursday.
Yeah.
They've now unlocked new economic activity, right?
Right. That wouldn't have been there.
Would have never been there. It's a
been
new
there.
source of revenue for
Yeah.
them. And it's also a way for current instructors to build their own following, their own community. There's a lot of studios that are starting to go in this direction, and I think it's going to get bigger over time.
How does a Planke app fit into those emerging realities?
Yeah. I forgot to plug Planke app right there.
Yeah.
But, we allow
we're plugging it out.
We allow studios to post their studio as a rental opportunity, right?
Okay.
So you post your studio for rent and people can send
These
you
are the
messages.
availabilities.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we've seen those become a little bit more popular as of late.
And what about the mentorship? Are you enabling that with studio owners as well too, or is that a program that's on the horizon?
Studio owners, that's available also. So
Okay.
if you're an experienced instructor or a studio owner who can set up an instructor with a new instructor with someone who's more experienced, then yeah, you can be a mentor. So a studio could be a mentor or an experienced instructor could be a mentor. And we actually just released that feature and benefit recently. We're just starting to make the marketing push on that.
Okay.
So you'll probably see my wife's face on a lot of Instagrams in the near future.
All right. Well, yeah. Shout out your wife. What's your wife's name?
My wife's name's Hannah McMullen. She owns a studio in Rochester, New York. So she owns one here.
I'm sorry, what is it called?
It's called the Reformery.
The Reformery. I think I've heard of that. Yeah. Where's it located?
It's in University Ave, and there's also a second location in Canandaigua, which was opened late last year.
Awesome. So it's like you're not only a user, you're not only an owner, you're a user of the app. How does she utilize it for her business? And is it, when you said with her background in advertising and also owning a couple studios, how does she incorporate that into?
Yeah, that's a good question because I didn't touch on a few of these other things that's available in Planke app. So
sure,
she usually runs training sessions at her studios twice a year, so she can certify instructors. Okay. She's the lead instructor or the head instructor. So she teaches a certification program twice a year at her studio, and she starts by posting that on Planke app.
Okay. So that's available.
Yeah. So people
do that. Yeah.
People tell her they're interested through the app, or right in her studio, right? She has a lot of clients that end up just talking to her after class. But yeah, Planke app is another channel to get more traffic. So she uses it as posting her.
It's like trainings. A beacon if somebody's looking for a certification.
Yeah.
And
it'll show up on Google, right? It'll show up in an AI LLM chatbot.
Cool.
Right. So when you're searching for stuff or you want to post things, you're right, it gets distributed throughout the net. So she does trainings. Recently, late last year, she did a workshop at her Canandaigua studio. And this was actually with a very popular Pilates influencer on Instagram. And she advertised the workshop right through Planke App. And that thing completely filled up pretty quickly. Really successful workshop. She's posted a few jobs on Planke App and has hired from the app as well, right? So she gets some good applicants coming in from time to time. And that's what she's used it for mostly so far. Trainings, workshops, and hiring. She doesn't rent her studio out very often because they run so many private sessions throughout the day that they don't really have many opportune times.
She can keep her instructor level up as, you know, she's has the account utilization. She's using it.
Yeah.
And is she and are you able to obviously beta test things? And is that part of the workflow then?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We test everything first with just myself with a test account, and then her when she's on her live account. Yeah.
Okay.
So almost everything goes out right through her account first. In testing,
that gives you a lot of confidence in, you know, testing, but also, hey, this is a feature we really need, right? Because you have the boots on the ground, so to speak, in these different locations.
Yeah.
On the studio side, which really, that's the paid side of the app as well too.
Yeah.
And how, you know, because my business partner is my cousin. We've worked together for almost 20 years. And, you know, there is that old adage of, you know, don't go into business with family, or, you know, how is it working with your wife and, you know, in the day to day, and also just overseeing everything, you know?
Yeah. So I would say most days I'm probably working mostly alone on Planke App, and I'll work with her maybe 2 to 3 times a week on Planke App related items.
Okay.
It's certainly been a challenge throughout the years, right? Really great at sometimes, tough at other times.
Yeah. Would be with a business partner as well too.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's one of those things that you really just got to like figure out over time, right? It's like, for me, when I'm at home, I always have ideas and things running through my head all day, and I always wanted to just blurt them out and talk about it. But with her, she was like, you know, when we're home, I don't want to think about work right now. It's family time and family and friends and community time. So let's just do that. And so we've had to find that balance over time.
Find a balance and maybe schedule it. Like, here's a time where we can.
Yeah, it's funny how often we actually just like schedule stuff on each other's calendars, even though we're both at home at that time. Or
that's a healthy way though to keep it like where it doesn't intrude into areas that maybe it shouldn't, in terms of that, you know. You're at Christmas dinner and you're talking about this feature and you're showing, you know, something like those lines, and it's like, oh, you know, I think that can be something of, you know, have some boundary and balance there as well too.
Yeah, and it's like a lot of unwritten rules that you kind of just figure out over time, and you need to respect the boundaries of the other person, or at other times you need to respect when that person thinks they need to escalate something and they can break those rules, right? So it's like a lot of give and take. It's a lot based on feeling. There's no hard and fast rules. And I do think that, like, okay, I chose for this person to be my life partner. Why couldn't I work with them in a company? You know, it's like, if I'm already doing life with them, why not do it fully and completely, right?
Yeah, and build something you both are very proud of.
Yeah,
and it's you know, it's a feature, not a bug.
Yeah,
as they say.
Yeah,
right.
I completely agree. And like you'll probably hear, like, get people rolling their eyes, being like, "Oh, I need time away, or I need space or separation." Like, that's fine. You can have all that too. It's like you can take a break from talking about work 24/7 with your partner.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't have to. There's no
Even if
rules.
you're not working together, it tends to happen. You want that sounding board
Yeah.
at the end of the day sometimes, and sometimes it's 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 challenging enough as it is. No matter what the situation is, if you're working together or you're not, life is complicated sometimes, but that's really cool that you and Hannah have been able to find balance in that and continue to grow it. So, you mentioned an Instagram campaign that's coming out. What will that be uh, promoting? And is she doing the ads with her background?
Yeah, she'll probably be making videos. She sent me stuff yesterday and I haven't even looked at it, so I can't tell you
Oh, yeah.
exactly what's going to be in there. But I told her that like the general concept should be, this is an educational series. And we recently released this mentorship feature, so
Okay.
we need to hit this hard, and we need to do it now while the strike while the iron's hot, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. While there is a lot of demand on the instructor side.
yeah, so we'll definitely be talking a lot about mentorship, and I want to work some of the rental stuff in there also, because this
Cool.
feels like an emerging thing that I'm seeing the activity on Planke App, but I'm also hearing about it from people when I
Then
when I
that's a
meet with people.
strong
Yeah, it's a strong
thing.
indicator that like this is
And
something to focus on.
and when you approach something like the Instagram campaign, is that localized? Or I mean, you have the metrics, so is it like multi-markets? I mean, you're definitely gonna run stuff in New York City, or is it like really concentrated in certain areas where maybe there aren't as many, there is more of an imbalance on
Yeah.
one side of the marketplace?
Yeah. So it's not actually going to be a paid campaign. I probably shouldn't have even said campaign
Yeah.
earlier. It's going to just be a series of
Got you.
videos and shorts. Now I'm using YouTube language.
Yeah. Well, what is it on Instagram? It's like, who could keep
The
up?
reels,
Reels.
There's
Keep it
reels,
reels.
TikToks, shorts. Yeah, it's hard to keep
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
but it's probably just going to be a series of videos.
Okay.
Short
Got you.
form video that is going to be distributed and hopefully gets a little bit of organic reach. Some of her videos tend to do decent, and our marketplace. Well, I would say our market in general is relatively small, right? It's very
Mhm.
niche, so putting paid dollars behind this really doesn't make sense. We've tested that out in the past, but it's so
Yeah.
hard to reach in volume the exact person that we
That
want to reach.
that real
Yeah.
target, it's really about that organic reach, and if you have the ability to do that, that is something that ads really can't buy, and
Yeah. And the other
you're
thing
just
is,
fighting against the algorithm.
yeah, exactly. So we'll do the organic videos, and we can also cut up the videos or use them as educational content on the website or in
Right.
an email or in some other format, right? We could do Instagram and YouTube and TikTok. There's a lot of different options once you actually create the content. It can go out a lot of different channels.
Yeah, so you have a lot on the horizon, and uh and along with a lot of life I know you guys just moved recently, and you're
Yeah.
waiting on getting a call about the closing another house. So you're keeping things moving along with everything that life has to offer. What uh do you think people that are maybe interested, if they see this, if they see the reels and they see this content, how are you looking for them to respond and take action based on that content? Like, what is it? Oh, I want to get a mentor. Maybe I've been going to classes and I've been thinking about it for a while, but I just didn't know that I could activate that and maybe talk to
Yeah.
Hannah or an instructor. I never thought about it like that. Is that kind of like the
Yeah.
takeaway, or is it all those things? And
Yeah, I would love to bring more potential instructors into the fold. Like I said, I think there's an instructor shortage right now
Mhm.
and a studio saturation. So I would love to bring more instructors in. send us a DM, send us an email, join Planke App as an instructor, even if you're just a potential instructor. And then you can find mentors.
And upload your video.
Upload your video.
Upload your video.
If you don't have a video yet, upload it later.
Yeah.
But reach out to a mentor if you're not certified yet.
Look
right?
for mentorship.
So that's find a training. Yeah.
It sounds like that's like there's a lot of opportunity, and that's no matter where you are. Right. That's not just in this market. It's
exactly
in other markets as well too.
We're really thinking of this as like the career development marketplace.
Yeah.
For Pilates.
Yeah.
Right.
That's kind of the next. It sounds like that's the next frontier.
You don't need to be an instructor yet, or you could be an inexperienced instructor, right? You could be in the process of getting certified. You could have 20 plus years of experience. You could have trained directly under Joseph Pilates. Like, it doesn't matter. There's probably something for everybody in here, and there's a lot of opportunity out there right now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And anything else? Like, would you ever expand this or do companion apps in other verticals, I guess you say, or is it really you're owning the Pilates market and not looking beyond that?
Yeah. It's a good question, because we always had this idea of going into yoga after Pilates, right?
Okay.
Those are two modalities, they say. I know you use the term vertical, and that's what I would use in as a
modalities
thing,
like,
right?
You tell what we do.
Yeah. In the fitness industry, they say modality. So
okay. Yeah.
We actually do have other modalities on the app right now. So Pilates, which is 99% of our volume and traffic, but yoga is probably the other 0.8%, and then cycle and bar are also on there. Now, some instructors have multiple certifications, right? They might be a yoga instructor and a Pilates instructor. So we always wanted to have that available to them. Some studios do both yoga and Pilates, so we wanted to have that available for them. Those are the two that overlap the most, I would say.
Okay.
With bar being
those two modalities.
Yeah. With bar being a distant third, but eventually we'll probably expand a little bit more into those modalities. But I think there's a lot we can still do within Pilates, like just making the marketplace work really, really, really well and understanding it really well is a hard enough job as it is. And we're getting closer every day.
Yeah, that's tremendous. And with leveraging AI, you can start hitting those edge cases and some of the things that maybe you wouldn't have been able to, several years ago when, it's those resources were much more expensive and time consuming and maybe even unproven. So, I guess, we can wrap things up here. This has been tremendous, but I got to ask, what do you and Hannah miss the most about New York City? Or when you go back, is there a place that you got to get food or that you got to go pay a visit to?
Yeah, definitely. New York City pizza's incredible. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
Actually, the town that we grew up in Oneonta, New York, it actually has really good pizza. So we've always been big fans of pizza. And New York has some of the best in the world. And Lucali is our spot in New York. Carroll Gardens, Brooklyn. It was 15-minute walk from our old apartment. So,
all right.
Yeah.
That's a perfect walk because you could have a couple slices and walk it off.
Yeah. And also you put your name on the list, you get in line, and they tell you to come back in a couple hours. You go to a couple bars and then you come back and you're hungry. Yeah, it was an incredible experience. So that was definitely one of them. I like the Standard Beer Garden, kind of in the meatpacking district. This is where I would go to a bunch of meetups there. It's a great German beer garden.
Right on.
Man, there's so many good spots, but I would say those two spots are
I mean, you just need a couple anchors there.
Yeah, those are definitely two of them.
What about in Rochester? What's your what's your go-to in Rochester for pizza?
Pizza Noda, which just opened up.
That's familiar.
Yeah. So
The name's familiar for some reason. I've never
The
been.
name's familiar because the EIR here, Rick, owns it.
Oh, I've read it in the email.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah. All right.
It's got to be the best pizza in Rochester.
All right.
I know it's
Shout
all a
out.
matter of
Rick, Pizza Noda.
yeah. So Pizza
We'll
Note
come
is incredible. There's a couple
a
other
pie.
good spots, but that's number one.
That's number one. All right, I'll have to check that out. We'll be getting a pie. And where if somebody's interested in, getting in touch, LinkedIn, X, Instagram, like where are all the places that people can find you, or if they're interested in going to your wife's studio for a class as well too.
Yeah, so my wife's studio is the Reformery, NewYork.com. It's a really long URL, long domain. But yeah, if you just search the Reformery, you can go to a class in Rochester or in Canandaigua. They also do classes at the Lake House on summer weekends.
Ooh, swanky.
Out at Canandaigua Lake.
That's very cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
Right on the dock on the water.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And those are on the mats then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But if you want to contact us at Planke App, Instagram DM works, LinkedIn message, or send us an email. You'll find our email or contact page on our website, plankeapp.com. That's PlankeApp.com. It's Planke App with an E in the middle.
Yeah, I'm going to have to make sure that all the captions make that correction with a plank with an E. If the AI is listening, maybe it'll do it, but I'm not sure if it's quite there yet. And then if somebody wants to connect with you directly, PJ McMullen on LinkedIn.
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn.
This has been awesome, man. I really appreciate you coming in. You're welcome back anytime to come and shoot the breeze and give an update and see how things are going. And I really enjoyed learning about the journey and not knowing much about Pilates coming in, other than we've had a client and some friends running a place in Buffalo for years. This has been really informative as well too. So thanks for sharing all the details and the stories of your journey.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was fun. This was my I think my first real podcast, maybe second.
It's me too. Me too. It's my first.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's cool.
No, well, you're welcome back anytime, and to come back in, and we'll do it again.
All right, cool.
All right.
Thank you.
PJ McMullen, Planke App. Check it out and become an instructor today. Get a mentorship. Why not? It's AI is going to come take your job anyway, allegedly. So it's time for something new. Thanks for watching.